The landscapes of our lives are for learning, where experience is our teacher. When we gather together to share our resources, we are destined to love and thrive. Hello, Pierre.
Hey, Maureen.
You pulled your hat down closer to your eyes, and so you mean business? We're gonna do we're gonna
I
do
mean business.
we're gonna
business.
reflect on some podcasts and talk about learning how to talk in conversation, right? So
Absolutely. Absolutely. As a matter of fact, we're going to reflect on a reflection. How about that? We're going to go down the rabbit hole a little bit. We reflected on 1 year of podcasting, and we didn't actually start that as a reflection, but it turned out to be, and there was a bit in it. And this is like, I guess we're being vulnerable to reflect on our own reflection.
well, we're trying to be transparent and honest in the spirit of learning conversation. We're trying to talk about conversation and learning how to have conversations and all the kind of pitfalls and problems and exposures that happen, like shit that comes out of our mouths that we may not pre-thought or didn't really mean or need clarification. So we're trying to be vulnerable and transparent to our listeners because we're not performing and we're not editing. We've said we've never edited. So that's why we're having a podcast about why we don't edit and where we wish we could, I guess, because we make mistakes and say things.
Right. So I'm really glad you said a couple of those things, like the shit that comes out of our mouth. When we first started these podcasts, Maureen was really worried because becoming a clinician and also being a teacher, she's used to having her words, relied on. And, I was much more, if anybody believes us, they're crazy, it's just,
or I just have a higher fear of judgment, probably.
that could be too. But anyway, so in that spirit, we kid around, we try and bring information forward. And I was kidding Maureen in the 1 year reflection podcast that she listens to a lot of complaints or people complaining, and I want to just roll that back a little.
My job as therapist,
right? Roll that back a little bit, because I've certainly been in a lot of therapy that's been helpful to me, and I didn't want to have it be misunderstood that therapy is just a complaining venue. In fact, it's not.
Partially it is. Yeah. It's in there.
Partially it is, but it's an entry into saying things that you don't have venue to say in other places, which then allows somebody who is a good listener and trained to kind of, if you have a bad circumstance, and you can call it a complaint, reflect on that and, become empowered to do something about it or think about it.
A lot of it is, okay, so some of it is complaining and venting, and some people don't have anybody to complain to, and we have reason to complain for sure. There's being a total victim mentality and being stuck in that's one extreme. But then, like, we all have complaints, we all and it's okay, like it's all okay, whatever needs to be expressed gets expressed. And I think one of the valuable things in terms of like learning conversation and listening reflectively to people, try to be honest, like you just said, to unfiltered, to feel within a relationship that's unique in the therapeutic relationship, safe and trusted enough that you can be your true self and be a complete disaster and a mess and complaining and whining and all of that, and that's fine. That's the one place where maybe that is the one place where you can do that. You can do it with friends too, but that reflective listening is like, what comes out of your mouth, I'm a mirror reflectively, I hear you saying this. Is that what you meant? Is that, for clarification, because we say a lot of things that we don't mean, or we use the wrong words, or we don't have, if you're a kid especially, don't have the vocabulary to truly express. And I try to, like Socratic questioning, probe and clarify, is that what you meant? So that you're helping the person understand and create meaning in their lives.
Well, we talked
right?
about, we talked about doing a Socratic dialogue as a sixth form of podcast, and I'm kind of excited about it because I want you to teach me. I'm not, you're good at it. I'm not. I just don't.
You want a quick like 411 on Socratic dialogue?
Yeah, for sure. Because
You
in
probe
addition to,
assumptions. You probe assumptions. So someone makes an assumption. They say, I need to,
well,
as
they
the
make an ass of
person,
themselves, right?
oh, that's an assumption. I need to be able to identify that and then probe that. It's reflecting back to the person. Is this what you meant? And probing
Mhm.
that, clarifying concepts. Oh, what did you mean by sadness, or what did you mean by you hate that
Mhm.
thing?
Mhm.
Probing your rationale and reasons and evidence. Is there evidence to back up? Oh, I'm a stupid person. Well, where's the evidence for that? Can you give me some examples of, so that's all it is.
Well, yeah, I want to learn this because I have been a creative, I guess you could say. So I tend to look at the world around me and try to make, sense of it in different ways. And I have not spent as much time, although I analyze things through some of those questions. I haven't spent enough time in dialogue on the other side. And, curious, one year I dedicated myself to listening and curiosity. And it was it was a big turning point. It was cool.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I mean, I think you're right. I think a lot of times when we do talk, I do that, right? I ask, oh, like, why did you think that? Or what did you mean by that?
Yeah.
And I probe a little bit just because I'm curious about, I
And
always,
it seems to
it's
me
funny.
that's natural to you.
Yeah.
That's not that didn't come out of just this recent coursework.
No,
This is part of you. Where
no.
did it come from?
I guess it's just, I think it comes, honestly, I think it comes from, I, the intersubjectivity, like I am so fascinated by people and what they think, how they feel, how they see the world. Like I want to get as close to you as I possibly can to really understand you. And I don't know if that's just a drive for closeness, or you really wanting somebody to be understood because I felt misunderstood as a kid. It's all come from like
Oh
how
my
I
gosh,
was
this is
raised.
such an interesting conversation, Maureen, because I felt misunderstood as a kid, and all I did was talk because I wanted somebody else to understand
I did
me.
too. Yeah.
And actually, it's it's so counterproductive, it's insane.
Well,
And when I am quiet and when I ask people questions,
mhm.
they feel they understand me.
Yeah, I don't think you talking too much is all about that's, first of all, part of it is personality.
Yeah, no, sure.
Part of it is that you look at the drives, what's driving your behavior, right? And so you could
Right.
go back into childhood and find like where your core beliefs and assumptions and how you were shaped and your behavior and where it comes from. I felt that people were withholding information from me, the truth. And I think I just really, and it was true
Oh,
because
oh,
and I was very sensitive physiologically, and I felt the undercurrents of a lot of adult bad negative set things that were
oh.
happening, anxieties in my family dynamic. I was the baby, and it was like I was shielded from it. You don't need to worry about that. But I wanted to know, I wanted to feel included.
I
I
want to know.
truth. And so I talked a lot too. And, you know, there was a lot of frustration there. Not a shocker. I became a teacher. not a shocker, I became a yoga teacher of Bikram, which constant. And that but I made a conscious decision from all of that kind of, I mean, I tried to listen as a teacher, but you have to do a lot of introducing and setting objectives and all that and interacting with kids. But I really did want to listen more as I got older, which I think is appropriate as you get older and wise.
Right.
You're more receptive and open and grounded. I think through yoga got me there to be in a position of, I know I'm not the authority, Socrates. I know what I don't know. And now I wanna just watch things unfold and then
Mhm.
probe and ask questions and get clarification and more meaning. And I love that process. For me, like that's what's so stimulating. And that's my vitality. Live to
That's so
learn to live
interesting.
and live to learn, right? Like for me,
Oh my
that's what
gosh,
makes me feel alive.
yeah, you've tied everything together, and it's so interesting to hear how it began and evolved and everything. That's just awesome.
Plus like stories, like we talked about narrative.
Hmm.
People are like a book. Like sit back and enjoy the story.
Hmm.
Let the pages turn, watch people. You learn so much. I just People are just so interesting. I loved little kids too. I think I learned to read people when I had my kids. My mother used to say kids are the best form of entertainment, free entertainment. And it's like you just watch. I just remember watching my kids and just like, wow, this is awesome. Yes,
Yeah.
no better show on earth than
I don't know your kids except through our conversations and a couple of pictures here and there, but beautiful, beautiful children and
well,
uh,
kids in general, not just my kids, but like little
stories.
kids are cool. Like they're just
Yeah,
so fun to watch,
yeah,
you
yeah.
know.
Well, thanks for reflecting, and I know this is a little bit of a short one, but gosh,
Well,
pretty neat. I'm looking forward to more of these podcasts and wondering how old I have to be before I start listening more.
oh, you've listened to me plenty. I think the other thing is, not just to address, a statement that you made about that you kind of not regretted or didn't mean that way or didn't want it to come off in a certain way or whatever.
Right.
I'm sure there's been other episodes where we've both done that. I know I have. I can't remember them, but cringing when we re-listen to our podcasts before we publish them and wincing at some places. And I'm sure we've been inaccurate. I'm sure I have. And
Wow.
I'm sure we've probably made remarks that some people would find offensive. Like inevitably that's going to happen. And it's all
Right.
okay, but I kind of just want to explicitly say that in this podcast
Yes.
and
Thank you.
do it.
And I'll bring it back to the beginning of the podcast as, reflections. I love the unedited form. This is conversation and it's two people here that, you know, not much of an agenda, just a conversation, learning, trying to
Yeah.
bring out some resources and explore it in this format of conversation. I listen to them and write the show notes, and we collaborate on them, but and we both re-listen to these things, and I don't know about the audience, but I just find myself smiling because it's authentic. There's so much canned conversation
Well, it's
content.
play. I think it's play. It's cooperative play. That's what we're
Cooperative play.
doing. And I think, that's what we need. And we're not coddling people in our audience. Like you can handle it. You know what I mean? Like I
Right.
feel like it's respecting people. Like you're not fragile. You can hear some stuff and it's okay. And I think I've reflected on being a person that kind of has to be candid and tell the hard truths or what I see that might hurt a little bit with clients or my kids or anybody, right? It's like,
True. True.
I know this is a sensitive thing. I know you're upset about it, but like, let's talk about this thing that you don't want to talk about. And, that's hard to do on my end. That's stressful for me to encourage people to be honest, and so that they can heal, and do the hard thing, inviting people to do the hard thing, like you do in yoga as parents. Like it's hard to do that. I mean, I
Yeah.
think I'm getting better at it and less
Yeah.
worried about it, but I think we have
No,
to have those people in the world, right? Is like not coddling you, and kind of compassionate confrontation, and let's
absolutely. And the
work
best thing,
together to get you better functioning and happier. And
yeah, I'm just, just come back to it. I'm just so proud of this podcast where, we were taught to struggle. In yoga, we had the same yoga teacher training, and we were taught to struggle. Best thing you can do for yourself is struggle. Make yourself struggle. You can have struggles out there, but if you make yourself struggle, you're in control, and you choose to make yourself struggle, to make yourself stronger, to experience these things, to find regulation through dysregulation, and you're in charge. And these yoga postures, which you can't do, and are creating a voice for your body, is then informing your mind. Your mind is reacting and saying, "Oh, I don't want to do this," and yet, if you settle into it for long enough, and let the body, kind of
struggle long enough.
struggle long enough, and I always talk about the yoga edge. You get there, the body's telling you something. It's using the language of pain. Don't go further just because the ballerina over there is doing something. And then don't listen to your mind and say, "Oh, this is stupid. I'm going to stop doing this." Stay right at the edge, right where the body is telling you, this is where, I'm needing my attention. Don't let the mind take you further, and don't let the mind take you backwards. And, it sounds simple, but
No,
just try it.
that's the distress tolerance, and it's embodied, right? Like you have to teach your body through training to continue
Great.
to do that, so that the mind can quiet, so the mind doesn't rule you, right? Like the rider on the horse. Like you've got to train the horse to keep struggling and be at that edge. And the only way to build endurance and discipline and tolerance and courage and strength is to keep going to that edge and living there.
Living at the edge.
Little
And
bit
here's the crazy part.
Yeah.
Mind dictating, mind's not happy. I gotta be like the ballerina, or this is fucked. I'm not doing this anymore. Stay right at the edge where the mind is not happy and the body is in control. And like a flower petal blooming, the mind becomes happy. How the fuck does that work?
Yeah.
Like that's the idiocy of it, like you're relying on your mind, and it's absolutely giving you the wrong information. You tap into your body and honor it. And even though the mind is rebelling 6 ways from Sunday, the mind calms and becomes happy, and you feel like $1 million after this practice. It's amazing.
Do you want me to put an exclamation point on that?
Sure.
This is from Buddha Dhammapada. Your worst enemy cannot harm you as much as your own thoughts, unguarded. But once mastered, no one can help you as much, not even your father or your mother.
Kabam. Thank you, Maureen.
Okay.
God bless you. And God bless all of you listening to us, each and every 2 or 3 of you.
May God have mercy on
May God have mercy on your souls. I'm Pierre from
you
Yoga
two friends
Heals
out there.
Everywhere, my
You
friend.
know who you are.
I'm Pierre from Yoga Heals Everywhere, my friends. Peace through grace. We love you.
Maureen, Landscapes for Learning. Learn to live and live to learn. See you next time.